What's up, Ukers? EUC enthusiasts, what's happening? Got the veteran Sherman S, and this is my first 40 miles on it. So I take it super easy. This thing is pretty heavy. Heaviest wheel I've ridden. I think it's 100 pounds. Maybe more, because I got like a radio on the back and some stuff. This bicyclist, I see him a few times. Sometimes bicyclists are cool. Sometimes they can be like territorial. I would say bicyclists but this guy was cool. I got those new the knee braces, the asterisk knee braces that pull from True to One. I saw on one of his videos, and I got those, and they're sick. I come from medieval combat sports, and I'm totally into medieval armor. I own functional medieval armor that I've fought in internationally, overseas in competition, and these knee braces are sick. Like in medieval armor standards, they'd be called a cuisse. And normally when you have a cuisse, they're comparable in weight, actually. Medieval armor gets a bum rap in being heavy, but like these braces are probably a touch lighter than medieval armor cuisse. Normally you'd have something supporting it so that it didn't fall down, and I was a little worried about that, but the strap system on this is really good, and they stay put. I haven't had an issue with them falling down, which was one of my concerns. So after I go to the beach here, I turn on that AVAS from EUC World, and what that is it's like sound output that's dependent on, you can make it dependent on a bunch of factors, but the easiest one is just making it dependent on speed. And so I get this up with the stock sound, which is a Fat Boy Harley Davidson, and it's just pretty cool. So when it comes up, I'll just shut up and let you hear it a little bit, because I really like it. And then they have like a Jetsons one that kind of sounds like the Jetsons car. They have a horse, all kinds of cool things. So I'm really, really happy to have this set up. I finally got my tick watch set up, and I'm loving it, but I'm not getting rid of the phone that's strapped to my arm, because I can have that on like GPS while I have my speed and everything else on my tick watch. So I'm like, is this ridiculous that I have my phone and my watch and all this stuff? But I mean, I find it convenient, so I don't even care what it looks like. So I like this AVAS system, and the InMotion V12 has a very similar system, Soundwave, but I like the AVAS because it's more configuration, more versatility, options, and I actually like this Harley stock thing because it's predictable. People know what the sound means, and it keeps people aware of you without even having to see you. Mainly pedestrians and bicyclists. So I really like to use that. I mean, if I'm off road in the woods, I like it as well, because the hardcore mountain bike guys can hear you coming. Like, they're all, most of them are cool if you're cool. If I see mountain bikers coming the other way, I'll pull over. I respect their trails, and they've been here and they manicured these trails, made this, worked for having these places. So I try to be like uber respectful. Although some of them are jerks, and F them. The Sherman S, I'm really enjoying it. I only have 60 miles on it. I feel like until you have 100 miles on a wheel, bare minimum, you're just barely tapping into learning that wheel. But this just feels so comfortable, and it just beckons me to go faster. It's like, oh man, this just feels really good. I saw one post on electric unicycles, Facebook, and with the wire that was in the hall sensor. So there's either been one or two, I think it's just one incident with the hall sensor. If anybody knows that there's been two or more than two, please let me know. That's something that's concerning to me. And I hope it's just a fluke of like one model. But yeah, I'm gonna take it a little easy. Maybe easier even than this, slower at least, until I'm sure that hall sensor is not going to be a problem. I'm thinking about, I found this really great tire someone posted, and I've actually bought two of them, and I haven't installed them. I'm a tire hoarder. I literally have 7 tires for different wheels, and I've never changed a tire yet. But I just want to have them, just in case, I really do want to put that the H66 on the Master, and I want to put this street tire, like, I want to call it like a snow tire, for a snow street tire, because it has like small treads. And it has a tight pattern of small blocks. So it's still very street-like, but it does have that grip. It's not like a street slick like a lot of these tires are, like the Michelin Street Pro or the Kenda. Now the Kenda has a little bit more of a pattern on it. Right now, I have the Kenda Street tire from E-Wheels. I just want to say that I love E-Wheels. I have bought 7 unicycles from them, and they are by far the best company I've ever dealt with. Like, ever. Like, not even within the EUC community. Jason from E-Wheels, he's just a great guy who will work with you. He's, in my book, stand-up, reputable businessman. And a really good one. Sets a good example. Anyway, the tire. So I gotta switch the tire out anyway. So I should probably just dive in. It's winter time. I shouldn't be riding this thing and abusing the battery by riding it in the cold. What I need to do is take it, perform a little surgery on it, and check those freaking wires. So there's a saying my team leader used to say, deeds not words, and that's a great thing to live by. So deeds not words is basically, do it, don't talk about it. So here I am talking about it, and I need to remind myself to do that. We'll see how that goes. I have that big radio on the back of the vehicle, It's a JBL Charge 4 or JBL Charge 5. I love that deep rumble it makes. With the Harley and the Avis, it just has that nice throaty, like deep Harley sound, and it's pretty cool. And there, it'll crank up volume. Right now, the volume's at like 15% or something. So this is downtown Northport. I got married right there. And it's a nice little strip. When I was younger, I was into skateboarding and stuff like that. And the cops used to crack down on us and just give us trouble. And like, this is a nice town, and like we weren't grinding corners and wrecking stuff, you know, but like the police nowadays are just really cool so far. I'm just waiting for the day when they're going to be like, you can't ride that here. I dread that day. So I try to be respectful, and like I haven't like gone up and talked to a police officer and asked them how they feel and all that, but I kind of want to. But you know, whatever. I just leave everything alone and try to be respectful, and hopefully they don't ban us like they do in other countries. But if it was 1990 or so, a little bit earlier than that, they would totally be cracking down on me for this thing in this town. Times change, and I guess we're living in a pretty good time if you look at it that way. So I love being able to capture this the way I do with this Insta360 camera. But there's one thing that kind of bothers me, and it always bugs the crap out of me, is this hill is steep as hell, and it just does not show that in the video. It looks like a hill a little bit. Maybe I'm going up a hill a little bit. This is a steep ass hill. Like, I couldn't ride I'd have to stop my bicycle and walk it up this hill. The Sherman S, you know, these wheels keep getting bigger and bigger. This is a 100-pound wheel. When you come to a stop, when you take off, you're up in the air higher with these suspension wheels. It's like you're jumping up on a pogo stick. And, you know, when you come to a stop, you're coming off a pogo stick that, with the larger wheels here, initially, until you get used to the weight, like you come to that under 5 miles an hour, and you're like, you think this thing's gonna stop, and it's just like, oh no, I'm gonna just roll up on you a little bit more until you get things set up. If you're not used to it, take it easy, starting with these big wheels. I had the Sherman Max for a while, for just a brief while, because I picked it up. And then the S came out, and I'm like, shit, you know, my knees are bad. I realized the benefit of safety with these suspension wheels. I'm like, you know what, while it's brand new, I'm going to sell this, take a risk, and go with the unproven S. And I did that, and I'm happy about it. This thing is amazing. But that Max was amazing too. I might still buy a Max someday. But for right now, $4,000. I'm like, where's my $4,000 going? I gotta invest in the suspension, because that's what I ultimately need. A little worried about the Hall sensor, but I'm gonna tear it apart and check that out. So the max was the EXN was my initial introduction into bigger wheels, 70 pounds, but very maneuverable. And that wheel, I still have it, and I want to be able to learn it and master it. I put a street tire on that wheel and it made it so much better. The stock Kenda off-road tire, it's acceptable in that you can trust its grip. But man, when you switch to a street tire, you're not gonna want to look back. You don't. If you haven't experienced a street tire, you don't know what you're missing. I started when I got into these unicycles. I've always been like an off-road enthusiast with my trucks and my dirt bikes and all kinds of stuff like that. So I got into this and I'm like, holy cow, I can take these things off-road. This is amazing. That's the path I took. I bought a street tire. Oof, now I'm like 50-50. I'm scared of big box vehicles. Try to be very careful and always be at my wits, on top of my game when I'm riding on the street. I still love off-road. I can't wait. The thing that made off-road tough is the winter season. Coming into fall, there's the leaves. Winter, there's snow, or it's just freaking cold out. Although, the cold doesn't bother me so much. I just worry about the batteries, because I don't care. I'll gear up. I'll gear up for the cold. It's never gotten cold enough for me yet. The only place was like ingress into the neck or like the face, but I just get a ski mask and wear it under my helmet, or the Scorpion XO 18950. That's a winter helmet. You'd be sweating your ass off if you wore that in the summer. So, and that's a great street helmet. I think it's made for, I couldn't think of the word, snowmobiles. It's like a snowmobile helmet. I love that Scorpion, but I just keep coming back to motocross helmet. The visibility, the breathability, I don't know what it is about the motocross helmet. I can hear better. That's a big thing. The more helmet you get, the less situationally aware you are, and situational awareness on the street is key in my book. So I hate to lose that hearing. So the EUC World, the AVOS, has a setting where you can have it in intervals of either time or distance traveled. It'll speak out a list of stats that you select. So you can do like time, you'd say what's my speed, all kinds of, like a slew of settings. It's really quite amazing what this guy has made. I don't know his name offhand. There is one setting I'd like to be added, and I should probably request it online somewhere. But I thought of a great idea with the AVOS sound, the speech. So my idea is you get to a certain speed, and that will trigger the AVOS lady to start speaking. So like, let's say my top speed is 40 miles an hour. I want AVOS to start counting off, very simplistically, just the numbers, just number every time it changes. Once it gets to, say, 35. After 35 miles an hour, I want AVOS to speak every increment or every 2 increments of miles per hour or kilometers. So for instance, okay, I'm driving, I've just hit 30 miles an hour. AVOS is going to go 32, 34, 36, 38. As I increase in speed towards that. Now maybe you could have a setting where it speaks it back down to 30, but I think only increasing increments would be necessary for the point of which you would want this. For those pushing the boundaries, like having to look at your watch or your phone or God forbid, look down at the machine. When I'm wearing a helmet, man, I've tried it a handful of times. I don't even bother looking at the screen on the top of the machine. I have to dip my head so far down. I hate having to do that. I like that it's there. It's a great feature, and it's great that you have we have these little computers on top of our machines with screens to program and all kinds of stuff like that, but I don't want to do that while I'm driving. I don't care. It's too far down. This whole trip I've been riding the coast, just going from town to town along the coastal roads, and I've been getting a lot of headwinds. This trip I only got 40 miles and I was down to, I think it was 20%. So I was a bit surprised at the lack of range, but it's cold out. I've been going up and down hills and I've been dealing with a lot of headwinds, and I've also been playful. So I'm assuming the 100 miles ain't gonna happen for me. I'm thinking if I were to ride like 27 on flat ground in perfect conditions, I'd probably get 70 miles. That's my guess. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm also wearing a lot of gear. I brought breakfast with me and stuff like that. So I thought I was going to go further. This trip I had intended, and I was ready to go, 70 miles. And I went out, I got a few towns over, and I'm like, whoa, I got a beep. I'm like, why did I get a beep? So I noticed, I'm like, the battery's at 60%. I'm like, I don't expect to get a beep on this thing, like hardly ever. I'm not riding that hard. I'm just test riding almost at this point, trying to acquaint myself with the machine. So yeah, all those factors definitely come into play when it comes to range, and they did on this trip. But what a great morning this was. A fun trip nonetheless, even if it was only 40 miles. 40 miles, I was hitting 30, 35. I hit 40 on this trip at one point. So, for me, that's going pretty fast. I've gone that fast on the Master, but it didn't feel as comfortable. Here, it was just like, well, I don't know, I could even try 45 maybe, but I didn't. I'm not going to try 45 on a machine that I've had for, 60 miles at the end of this ride. So this whole trip has been in hilly areas. Very little of this trip has been on flat ground, and when it was on flat ground, I was getting the headwinds near the coast. The whole trip here pretty much hugs the north shore of Long Island between Northport and Huntington, and right here we're in the center in Centerport, and these roads in this little neighborhood, when I was a kid and me and my friends, we all got our driver's license, we used to call these the weird roads, because they are just up and down, really steep, it's like a really crazy jam-packed neighborhood with twists and winds and constant very steep hills up and down. The camera hardly captures it, but it's good practice for, maneuvering and dealing with steep hills. And a good test on the machine too. This machine performed flawlessly. It's a great machine. That one felt good. Being just a few miles on this, I don't really feel comfortable digging into the acceleration or the corners, but you can just feel that this machine's got it ready to deliver. This is one of my favorite roads. This just snakes right along the water, and it just snakes around in a twisty, windy, fun road that's relatively freshly paved. Here's another really steep hill that just doesn't look like it. This hill, a few years ago, sad story, some guy that was out of shape was like, oh, I'm gonna get back into shape. He ran up this hill and had a heart attack and died. This little thing's a big hill too. This is one of my favorite hills to speed up. I got trapped behind this guy. Probably for the better, because I'm at low battery. It keeps beeping on me. Freaked me out. Not exactly sure. I think I could push it a little bit more, but I'm new to pushing beeps, so I'm gonna tread lightly in the beep pushing department. Well, that was my first 40-mile-an-hour experience on the Sherman, and I really loved it. If you made it this far, thanks for coming along on my journey. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate that. And be safe out there and enjoy yourself. I'm sure my neighbors think I'm nuts.